Well, good evening, everybody. It's Chris here from the Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirror, Alberta. This is not how I wanted to be spending my evening. It's my in-laws' anniversary supper tonight, and I'm supposed to be joining them in there for that. But unfortunately, again, there are some things to talk about that are pretty much more important than almost anything else. I don't know how many of you watched the recent live stream with the Alberta government, Premier Kenny and Minister Shandro and Dr. Hinshaw and whatever the president of AHS is. But anyway, the short version of the story is that we were not open for summer. We were not open for good. As a matter of fact, as I'm sure all of you are aware by now, our government has been lying to us for 2 years. I had enough this January. I'm wondering, when are the rest of you, when are you guys going to say enough is enough? And when are you going to stand up against this? We've been told 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We were told 6 weeks to flatten the curve. We were told wear a mask, save lives, stop the spread. We were told shut down your businesses. This is the only way we're going to survive this. We were told if we reach 70% vaccination in Alberta, COVID is over and we're open for good. Do you remember watching Premier Kenny dressed up in his little suit at the Calgary Stampede that he opened the province up so that they could have? Do you remember him saying in that video, no, we're open for good forever. No more restrictions. It's not happening again. COVID, we're done with this. He's a liar. They lied to you when they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. They lied to you when they said 6 weeks to flatten the curve. They lied to you when they said that masks work. They lied to you when they said that all you have to do is get vaccinated. How much more are you going to do before you wake up and realize that this was not going to end until you say it ends? Premier Kenny, I watched you get absolutely trashed on your live stream today. And I don't mean trashed like with a bottle of Jameson. I mean trashed as in the province is not behind you. They don't support you. They want you to resign. I want you to resign. They want the Minister of Health to resign. They want accountability and answers for your flip-flopping and your ridiculous politicking through this entire thing. I'm so mad at what I just watched after hearing you say guaranteeing Alberta that we were going to be open for good. We have higher hospitalizations and ICU admissions right now than we did when we were unvaccinated. What does that mean? Does it mean we were right when we said that this is never going away, just like the flu and the common cold? Or are we still just wacko rednecks that don't know what we're talking about? Does it mean that we were right when we said this isn't going to end until we say it ends? Because it's not ending. And now, what you're telling me is that I have to close my business yet again. And unfortunately for me, this time, if I choose to not follow the health restrictions, I'll go straight to jail because Alberta Health Services, which has severely mismanaged this pandemic, went and got an injunction without me being represented. And basically now the court says that I have to follow their rules no matter how ridiculous, invasive, restrictive, whatever. And I can't get out from under that until I go to jail on Friday and serve some time, or until the government says that I have my full rights and privileges back, including the right to gather in peaceful assembly and the right to protest. I'm going to take a moment to quickly answer the question that somebody's been asking me quite a bit. They messaged me like 5 times, and I've missed it almost every time or been too busy to respond. A few days ago, actually maybe it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that there is a way to remove this government, at least remove the Premier from power. Number 1, talk to your constituency association in your your area. So for mine, it is Lacombe-Pinoka. My MLA is Mr. Ron Orr. We have a constituency association in Lacombe-Pinoka, and there's a board that sits on that, or there are people that sit on the board for that association. If they vote in favor of asking Ron to go into the government and request a leadership review of the Premier, they have to do that. That can be done in every single CA across Alberta. If how many do we need? We need 22. We need 22 CAs to get a leadership review happening and remove this disastrous Premier from Ottawa. I want him gone, and I know most of you do too. That's the easiest way to do it. 22 constituency association boards across Alberta have to recommend a leadership review. Failing that, if your constituency association has the 6 staffers that Jason Kenney inserts into each constituency, voting on the matter, and they outvote and they overturn it, it takes 100 members in that constituency association, UCP members, to call a special election. Or, pardon me, not a special election. That's what Trudeau does. A special meeting of the board. A special members meeting. In that meeting, the members can vote to replace the board. If your CA board isn't going to support your voice of displeasure and requesting a review of the Premier, replace the board. It only takes 100 members. It's not a petition. It's not an online thing. It's 100 like-minded people in that CA coming together, requesting a meeting, and then re-electing a new board that will request a leadership review to be brought to the attention of government. It's that easy. It doesn't take a long time to do this. It could be done fast. Like, we could be ending this thing by Christmas. And if you think it's going to end by Christmas, unless we stand up for ourselves and do something about it, you are sadly mistaken. The other thing that really pissed me off tonight was listening to these politicians with their little phrases that they insert into all of their little audio clips. Blaming. They're trying to convince everybody to blame other people for what's going on. They're trying to convince the vaccinated to blame the unvaccinated that this is happening. Well, that's garbage. If 70% of Alberta is vaccinated, this should not be happening if the vaccine works. I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, but it seems to me like they're actually trying to create more of a division between us. They're trying to get us fighting amongst each other and keep us distracted while they push their BS narrative and their BS restrictions on the entire province with zero accountability. Well, I'm not falling for it. I see right through what they're doing, and I know many of you do too. So it is time to stand up and be vocal and get involved. We have frontline workers, emergency responders, doctors, nurses, lawyers, professionals. Thousands and thousands of people across Alberta are starting to stand up against what the government is doing. You have a right to do that. I don't have that right because now if it's an illegal gathering and I attend in order to protest what my government's doing, off to jail I go. Well, I might be going to jail anyway. That's Friday. I have a sentencing hearing, so we'll see how that goes. I feel terrible for all of the businesses across Alberta who just got back on their feet. They started to see a little bit of hope, and now the rug's pulled out from under them. Restaurant business, hospitality industry, our numbers go down in the fall and the winter to the point where all we do is we survive. Businesses are not going to survive. And speaking of survival, I know there's some of you who are thinking right now, well, what about all of the people that are dying? It's tragic, it's terrible, but people die. They die all the time. The people that are dying with COVID, the vast majority of them, and this is public information, have comorbidities and are going to die. They know that. Their families know that. Yes, there are some out there who had no idea this was coming and they lost loved ones, and it sucks. It absolutely does. But does that mean that we have to push the rest of the province and the rest of the country into a death spiral and harm everybody around us? Is that what this is? Is that what the government should do to protect people from dying? 90 some odd % survival rate. And yet they are destroying families, they're destroying lives, they're destroying businesses, they're destroying faith in our government, they're destroying our faith in each other. Like, when is this going to end? If anybody knows, please tell me. 3 weeks ago, I knew this was happening. I got a message saying that the government is talking about the new restrictions coming out towards the end of September, and maybe you should say something. I didn't say anything because I don't know. I was hoping that they weren't going to do it. But we knew. We said this when the Premier announced his Open for Summer and Open for Good plan. We know that COVID is not going away. We know that. It is never going away. There's already new variants that are coming. They're coming about, and they're vaccine resistant. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life being held hostage by your government in order to live your life? I don't, and I won't. I'm not going to let a government tell me that I have to get something put in my body in order to go buy groceries or go to the movies for the rest of my life. It will be for the rest of your life. For those of you that thought, your first and second doses, you're good to go forever, you're wrong, and you're going to see that right away. We're already seeing third, fourth, and fifth booster shots. And guess what? We're no different than we were last year. If you want to get your vaccine in order to feel more comfortable and feel more safe living your life, by all means do so. I don't care. But nothing has changed. It hasn't changed for the vaccinated, and it hasn't changed for the unvaccinated. Ask yourself this: if you've received 3 doses of this vaccine, you still are required under the Alberta Public Health Act to wear a mask indoors, to socially distance, and you must follow all of these new rules, including but not limited to, you can't go to the movies, you can't eat in certain places, you can't drink past 10 o'clock. The rules still apply to you. Why? Because it's not working. Now, I don't have all the answers on how we should deal with this. The only thing that I can say is that there's a reason we have guaranteed rights and guaranteed freedoms in this country of Canada, or at least we're supposed to. The reason is because our government doesn't always have the answers. They're not perfect, they're humans. And I kind of felt bad for Dr. Hinshaw today, having to answer some of those questions. I know this isn't easy for her. Yes, I'm mad at her, but I also understand she's a human being, and this is probably horrible for her too. I don't feel quite so bad for the Premier, because I think he's a weasel. I'm sorry, Premier, but the things you've done and the things you've said and the amount of times you've lied to the people of Alberta, I don't have any pity on you for the absolute tongue lashing that you received online tonight. You deserve it, and you're going to get more. And if you ever are brave enough to talk to me, you're going to get that tongue lashing face to face. Although I'll be polite, I promise. I usually am. So what are we going to do? Are we going to continue fighting amongst each other and blaming each other for something that exists within nature that we cannot control, no matter how many layers of masks we put on, no matter how many times we get a flu shot or a jab or whatever? Or are we going to come together as human beings and say, no, I'm sorry, government, but you work for us, we are not your subjects, and we are going to live as free people? I really hope that all of you start getting involved and do something about this. My hands are tied. If I try and do any kind of pushback or civil disobedience against the Public Health Act, I will go to jail. I also can't recommend that you do that because I can't incite, promote, or attend any illegal gatherings, and I must follow the Public Health Act as ordered by Associate Chief Justice Rook. That doesn't mean I can't try and change my government, and you can too. It's not that hard. There's 4.5 million Albertans, and there's 87 MLAs, including the Premier. We outnumber them severely. And when we... Pardon me, I was interrupted because I just got an emergency alert due to the COVID-19 situation in Alberta. Which also reminds me, with the amount of money we spend on healthcare, with the promises the province made to us last year of the 1,000 new ICU beds, why are we in this situation in the first place? Why are we not prepared to handle this? You're telling me that there's 4.5 million people in Alberta, 4.7, whatever, and we can't handle this caliber of a endemic, pandemic, whatever you choose to say. I would say that the amount of money that's being spent, we should be able to deal with this better. We should be able to protect the vulnerable. We should be able to deal with the sick, and we should be able to do it without destroying the lives of the rest of Albertans. But we don't, because AHS, I just saw it.
Okay.
AHS has a bloated, overpaid, overstaffed, inefficient bureaucracy that is sucking the money out of our pockets. And what do they give us in return? They give us chains on the doors of our restaurants. They give us fines. They throw us in jail. Do you think that money would be better off spent improving our healthcare system and our response for things like this? Go look at the salaries for the top AHS employees and contractors. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. Some of these people are making $500,000 a year, and they couldn't run a lawnmower, let alone the healthcare system in Alberta. And yeah, I do think I could do a better job. You know why? Because I would fire half of those people, and I would make sure that the programs and services were efficient and able to handle what Alberta needs. We don't need a government to babysit us. We need a government to make sure that the programs and the infrastructure, the education that we need in a pandemic is available all the time. That's what we need. We don't need to be told that we have to stand 6 feet from people. If there's a pandemic, if there's something really serious going around that's killing people, we will know, and we will not want to stand near people. We need efficiency. We need accountability. We need to be exploring treatment options instead of vilifying them and calling the people who ask for information on it conspiracy theorists. There's a lot of things we need in this province right now, but the single most important thing we need is you. We need you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, all you people watching, and the friends that you're going to share this with, and their friends, and their family, everybody. We need them to finally cooperate and do something to get our province back, to stop the division, stop the distractions, and focus on the core problems. Bad government, inefficient organizations. We should be able to handle this. Alberta is a resource-rich and a fairly wealthy province, and there is no reason for this. We lock down businesses. We spend millions of dollars on programs to help them pay their bills, money that could be easily spent in healthcare, but we don't, because we got a crappy government and we have an inefficient healthcare system. And that trickles down, the effects of that trickle down to our frontline workers who actually have to go to work and watch people die with COVID. It trickles down to the doctors and the nurses that have to work overtime when their particular wing of their particular hospital is very busy. Everybody wants to talk about protecting our frontline workers. How about we give them the tools and the resources and the capital they need to do their jobs in the first place? How about we build infrastructure in this province that can handle a pandemic without destroying lives of thousands and thousands of other people who wouldn't otherwise be affected? We have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do. I'm really hoping we can get our organization membership page online tonight. If I can, I will post it immediately. There's thousands of people out there that want to help. You're not alone. If you feel like you're a blade of grass blowing in the wind, and you're all alone in this, and you're scared, you don't know what's going on, you're not alone. There's hundreds of thousands of people out there ready to stand with you, and we're going to do our best. We're going to do the best we can to facilitate a platform where all of you can be connected, so that you don't have to feel alone. Anyway, I'm going to get back to what's left of supper. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll chat soon.